Table Podcast, a podcast about all things Realm Royale. I'm your host, the Monty Mole, and tonight we're joined by former Paladins pro Alternit and now Realm Royale gamer. So appreciate you joining us tonight, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you because you've been name dropped in our podcast probably a couple times now. I don't know if you were aware of that. Did you know that?
I was not aware.
Oh, okay. We had Deathmatch on in a previous episode, and he talked some about you, and I think your name has come up in some of the tournament discussions we've had on the podcast. So, but yeah, I mean, it's all good things, obviously. But I was excited to like get you on the show, and I want to hear some more about like your background in gaming and just kind of your history with high res and all that good stuff, because I feel like I'm sure you've got a good story to tell, about how you got into gaming and all of that. Do you just want to start there tonight? Would that be a good like starting point?
Just how I got started in gaming.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you were like Paladins pro for a while, right? Like, what was your gaming background? Like, how'd you transition into that, and how'd that work for you?
So I would say I've pretty much always just been into shooter games. Specifically, I started with Quake and Unreal Tournament, and then slowly transitioned to like faster paced games similar to like Tribes. Um, so pretty much every shooter game that's come out, I've been playing at some point.
Yeah.
Firefall, Shootmania, Paladins, Overwatch, just everything.
Okay, so like I mean, how old are you? Are you like late 20s, mid 20s?
I'm 24.
24? Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask is because I'm 31, and I think it seems like gaming community like it seems like are typically younger. Like there's younger, but then you have like guys that like like Deathmatch and myself who are like in our 30s, which is kind of rare, I think, sometimes. But when I hear Quake, I think like you must have been around for a while, because like that was like a scene that has dated back like what, like pre-mid like 2000 era.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I played super young, Quake 3 and then Quake Live. Quake Live I played probably but yeah, I mean, I think Quake's probably still my favorite game or one of my favorite games of all time. The game that like really pushed me to start, I guess, trying to compete and be more, I guess, more competitive just in general was High Res's first game, Global Agenda actually,
Okay.
which was the first game that I played with like a really high time to kill. It was also very team based, and that game just like the teamwork in that game, I've never actually felt that in any other game since then or before that even.
Yeah.
So still kind of searching for a game that brings that same feeling again.
So I mean, I've never even heard of that high res title. What was it called? Global Agenda?
Yeah, Global Agenda. It was their first title. It was a sci-fi MMO slash shooter.
Okay.
Yeah, so it had some MMO elements, but for the most part, it was just a shooter game.
Yeah. Like I think the first high res title that I even ever heard of, like I played World of Warcraft in college. That was like what, like, oh man, that 2009. I got into World of Warcraft in like 2007 or 8, and like was raiding and doing all that. Was legitimately probably my first PC game ever. Like I played on this old school laptop, and it was fun, but it was like that was what got me into gaming in college. Was my buddies were playing this super nerdy game, and we're talking about all this stuff that they were doing in World of Warcraft. I was like, I legit kind of started it as a meme. Like I wanted to walk into a room and drop like, oh, I was killing this dragon and, Azeroth, whatever. Like that was like what I wanted to be. And I actually named my character after another person who is this like super nerdy guy. I know that's kind of mean, but it was really funny. Like it was super funny. That was what got me into gaming, was playing World of Warcraft with my buddies in college. So, I think I transitioned from World of Warcraft after so many years to League of Legends, and then from there I saw Smite was the first high res game that I ever noticed, and I didn't know it was high res at the time, and like thought that looked like amazing because it was kind of like a mix between League of Legends and World of Warcraft, in terms of like it was a MOBA, but it was like kind of like the Unreal Engine graphics, like similar to like what World of Warcraft looked like back in the day. So that was like my first experience with high res. So I had never really played a shooter before I got into Realm Royale, which is kind of interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Smite and Tribes were like their second and third games that they made.
Okay.
Global Agenda was their first. They shut it down, and then Smite and Tribes came after. Tribes didn't really survive past a couple months, um, but and then Paladins came after that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so like, how'd you transition into Paladins then? Like, you obviously played Global Agenda and loved that. Was Paladins like just a natural transition for you? Did you play Smite too, as like at first, or?
I played Smite for about a month. I wasn't a fan of MOBAs in general. I used
Yeah.
to be a big Dota, like the original Dota, the mod. I play a lot of Dota, big Dota fan. After Dota, I hated League of Legends. Just started hating MOBAs in general. So I was just like, I'm going back to shooters.
Yeah.
So I went to go play Shoot Mania and Firefall, which is another great game. I loved Firefall. Uh, but after Shoot Mania died, I was looking for a new game, and Gigantic popped up. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play Gigantic for a while. That's when the rumors of Overwatch started coming up, and I was like, okay, Overwatch is probably gonna be the next big game that I
Yeah.
try to go pro in or try to play or compete in. So I think everyone, pretty much everyone I played with, so Cool Matt Tailspin, who ended up playing competitively in Overwatch,
Okay.
all those guys played Firefall with and against me.
Yeah.
Grego as well. I played on team with Grego for a while. We ended up on Cloud 9, I think, for
Okay.
Overwatch. Um, but we were all playing Firefall, and then Overwatch came out after that. And the plan was to go to Overwatch, but to get into the beta for Overwatch, you had to either know someone at Blizzard or get extremely lucky. I knew someone at Blizzard, but I missed the deadline for friends and family, like keys to get sent out.
Yeah.
So I had to wait another 2 weeks. I was like, whatever, that's fine. And then Hi-Rez, like they're geniuses. We're like, hey, we have a game called Paladins. It's very similar,
Yeah.
and you can play it right now for $20. I was like, you know what? I have 2 weeks. I'll drop the 20 and play it.
Yeah.
And I fell in love pretty much instantly. Time to kill was fast. Gameplay was super fast. They got rid of that boring part of running back from your base after dying by
Yeah.
adding mounts to the game, which I thought was genius. There's no healers, no tanks, just everyone's a damage dealer. There's no ultimates in the game either, originally in Paladins. And they had a really cool game mode that I've never seen before, super unique. You had to break down 3 doors. You have to capture a point, push a siege engine, which breaks down doors, and then you have to break the 3 doors to win the game. Um, that only lasted a few months, and that's after that's kind of when my love for Paladin started slowly dying.
Yeah. So like, did you transition? Did you ever like that's an interesting, like, we've talked a lot about Paladins versus Overwatch in the past.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever transition to Overwatch then after trying Paladins, or was it just like, oh man,
Uh,
I love this? Like,
so I got into the Overwatch beta. Everyone started competing, making teams already. And I was like, I'll try it. So
yeah.
I started playing the game. 3 days in, I was like, I hate this game. Like, I can't. The money, like, you could tell Blizzard's gonna throw money at it. There's gonna be a scene, but I can't play a game if I don't enjoy it at least somewhat.
Yeah.
Um, the ultimates in Overwatch just made me cry. Like, it was brutal.
Yeah.
The fact like they were insanely overpowered. The whole game was just revolved around shields and ultimates. The whole game was based around like the trifecta of healer, tank, DPS. I was like, I can't stand this game. It didn't even feel like a shooter to me. It felt like a MOBA. Half the characters don't even have guns, right? There's melee characters and stuff, which I just hated.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go back to Paladins, but Paladins started turning into Overwatch slowly. It still wasn't as bad as Overwatch, but um, it slowly started transitioning to that too. They got rid of that game mode. They went with the traditional capture point payload, the same as Overwatch. Um, they added ultimates to the game. They added more separation between healers, tanks, and DPS. They
Yeah.
pretty much turned it into Overwatch 2.0.
So like, would you like, you really preferred the or OG like version then, huh?
Oh yeah, a
Yeah.
lot. I would still probably be playing with Paladins if it was that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, like, it seems like high res games all like, it seems like at least they have a history of launching an initial game that is super fun, like just very very fun, because they take kind of like elements that are really enjoyable from other games, and like add a unique twist to it. They take the best from games that have already existed sometimes, and then it seems like they launched them in this version that's amazing. And then we obviously have known they sometimes have a history of, maybe not making the best changes with some of their games. So that's interesting to hear that. I actually am not a Paladins player, so I haven't really played too much of that game. After playing the MOBA scene for as long as I did, it was just too tilting for me to jump into a game with random people and try and like be competitive. Like it, like
Oh yeah,
my temperament, it just was, it's too much sometimes. So,
yeah, yeah.
but
I understand that completely. But yeah, I mean, you're completely right with how high res kind of works with games.
yeah,
Global agenda. The remaining player base. This was towards the end of its life, but the remaining player base was like 90% PvPers, 10% PvE, and they ended up releasing an update. First update in like over a year. The only update to the whole game was they doubled the size of the like PVE zone, and
yeah,
no one ever went to, and everyone's like, we just got an update, first update in a year, and the only thing they added to the game was something that no one ever did. It's like Tribes Ascend, same thing.
yeah,
They had a loved people love Tribes, and then they're like, we're gonna make it hit scan. It's like Tribes is supposed to be a projectile based shooter,
yeah,
fast paced shooter. They're like, we're gonna add hit scan. It completely killed the game. They just they tend to. I feel like someone on their team just doesn't understand how these games work,
yeah,
what makes them fun, what people enjoy, and they just end up changing everything about it that people love. I mean, Realm Royale kind of went through the same thing, right? It's like, oh, forges and classes, people love it. They're like, oh, this is cool. And then they remove both of them. It's like, what are you doing?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like, that's interesting because I came into Realm Royale in a unique place. I came in at the 6-man squads patch. I played a couple games on the previous patch, literally first time ever, first shooter ever, came in. So there was a learning curve there for me, but it wasn't so much that it's like, I feel like other games have a much higher learning curve as well. Like League of Legends had a massive learning curve, like when I started playing that. And so there's kind of an element there where, like, yeah, you want to cater your game so people can jump in easily, but it doesn't mean you have to dumb down your game or take away elements that make the game fun. And I feel like that's been kind of a crutch where I don't know if there's an opinion, or if there's a vocal minority there that is saying, hey, we have to simplify in order to make this game accessible to new players. But there are times where it's like, in the process of that, they kind of go overboard. So
Yeah, I don't think they realize that over casualization also isn't fun for anyone. Like you can make the game accessible, but if you alienate your more hardcore players, I mean, what's the point, right? Even those casual players will
exactly.
eventually get better, and they'll start
Yes.
realizing these things suck. Like,
Yeah. Like, cause you lose, it's a lose-lose. Like if you try and appease like one or the other, you're going to lose one. But then if you try and just create this middle ground, you lose both, like you almost sort of have to like figure out, like, I think it's more of a process than it is like a, hey, this is how we're going to code our games. Like, we're not going to make this a casual game, we're not going to make this a competitive game, but it's like you have to figure out like what's fun, what is enjoyable about this game, and just focus on that, and not think casual people won't like this. You know what I mean? Like, you have to think, if it's fun, people will take the time to learn this and get good, like you said, and then get, immersed into the game. So I
yeah,
mean, that was my experience. At least I was like, it was weird because I jumped in 6-man squads, the patch that everybody hated, but whole reason I got involved in this game was because I watched one of the 10Ks, and I was like, I had nothing to play at the time. I was like, this looks dope, I'm gonna try it out. So,
I
but
think the other thing that they don't realize is when you give someone something, right? So you give them classes and you give them four people like it, like that's good. But when you take it away, if you take away something that people had, that's when people start getting angry, right? If they started the
yes,
game off with never having forges, never having classes, just 6-man squads, people wouldn't know that there was something else, right? People
yeah,
might have actually enjoyed 6-man squads. The problem is that they're comparing it to what they already had,
yeah,
and I mean, change always tends to also piss people off. Even if it's a good change, people tend to get pissed off just because it's different. But
yeah.
yeah,
That's so true, because I've heard that even in the business world. Like, a lot
oh
of
yeah,
a lot of companies are like, you can't give somebody a raise and then take away money. You know what I mean? Like, there's this element where, a place I used to work, they didn't really have a policy on raises. So it was like you would just kind of, when it was a smaller company, So you would just kind of go to the boss and be like, "Well, I want to raise." And they would be like, "Yes" or "No." And oftentimes they would say yes, but it just became this thing where it was like you would vie for a raise, and I was like, "I don't understand why we don't have a policy on raises, because most other places I had worked would be like, oh, every year we offer, a 2% raise or something like that." Like I don't know. They had a policy. Most places had a policy, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, because once you give someone a raise, you can't deduct it. You can't be like, oh, now you're making X amount of money, but then we had a slow year, so now you're going to make less. Like, it's like once you give somebody something, you can't take it away. So, like, that's such a good point. Like, it's the same with games. There's sort of a foundation that you have to build on, and we're sort of in this weird thing with games where people want to see change, but they don't want to see so much change that it shakes the foundation to the game of what makes the game fun, you know? So, but well, let's get back onto your Paladins thing, because I want to hear more about this pro gaming. Because so you played for SK Gaming, which is they're actually like a European based company, right?
Yeah, Germany.
Germany. Okay, so like, how'd you get noticed, and how'd you get connected with the pro scene, and like what like how did that whole thing develop?
I mean, just like any other pro scene, you pretty much have to get in right away.
Yeah,
If you're not in there like first week, first month, it's a struggle um, to get anywhere really in a game.
yeah,
Just because those relationships form, those teams form, and like the amount of stuff you have to go through to get to the top is insane when there's already an established team. But so with Paladins, I mean, I was playing Paladins since day one. The first day they put in like the $20 pack that you can buy to play the alpha. I was there like the first hour, playing pretty much nonstop. Um, so I formed a team called Warpath Gaming back like what was this 2017 I think 2016 whenever Paladins first came out. It was November 2017. And I was playing with just some friends that I knew, and then Cuss QT, who's actually playing right now in the pro league for Paladin. Still, he's on the Pittsburgh Knights.
okay,
Um, so I started, forming the relationships, starting forming I guess, the experience, or just even a name for myself in the community.
yeah,
Just doing well. Then eventually, it got to the point where I think, it was Facebook struck a deal with Hi-Rez for millions of dollars, and they're like, we want to run a pro league, but it's gonna be Facebook exclusive. Honestly, I don't think Paladins would have had a real pro scene if it wasn't for that kind of deal.
yeah,
The viewership wasn't really there. Hi-Rez games are considered like tier three esports, and it's honestly too.
yeah.
Um, and they're like, they also partnered with a um, what's it called? Wesa, whatever you say it, which is a coalition of esports orgs essentially.
Okay,
Um, and they're like, okay, all these orgs are going to pick up teams. So each team kind of reached out to players that they wanted, the teams that they wanted, and they're like, hey, come play for us. And SK was one of the teams that reached out to us. Renegades reached out to us. I believe it was G2 reached out to us. We had a couple of teams that reached out to us, and we ended up going with SK just because it was the best deal.
yeah. So what was there like salaries and stuff involved? Like
Oh
that's
yeah, so there's a minimum salary of 20K.
okay.
Originally, it was higher, but I guess
Yeah,
they gave the orgs more, so
gotcha.
there's 20K salary um, for each player. Some teams got more. We ended up getting a little more. 20K was the minimum. Most of the teams only got the minimum though.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool that they had the organization there somewhat. Like, so what year was this that this happened? Do you remember?
This was last year. Yeah, start of 2018, I think.
Oh, okay. So this was like fairly recently then. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of shocking to me that that happened when it happened. Because obviously, Overwatch League is like, I mean, huge. And we've talked a lot about, the organizations and the different pro leagues. Overwatch League is really large and has tons of funding, and I don't know if they're, what's it called? Um, shoot, it's blanking. Like LCS, they franchised. I don't know if Overwatch League is franchised or not.
it is.
Is it? Okay.
But the big thing though with Overwatch, with like any Blizzard game,
Yeah.
just Blizzard is massive and they have a huge fan base. No matter what they put, like they could push out a VR game and they'll sell millions, right? They'll have
Yeah.
followers pretty much. That's where Hires I think struggles is Overwatch even before it had Overwatch League before it was big and they just had tournaments. Their streamers on Overwatch were getting thousands of viewers.
Yeah.
So they had people with fan bases, right, set up already. Paladins never gets that. Realm honestly never gets that.
Mm-hmm.
The most views you'll see on Paladins on a big streamer for Paladins is like 100. Same thing with Realm.
Yeah.
So those scenes, that's why Hi-Rez I think struggles with trying to push into the top tier like esports scenes and top tier competitive games, just because they don't get those big streamers playing their games long enough.
Yeah.
Realm Royale was very close, and they broke 100K concurrent players on Realm. They had, Summit. They had massive streamers. Defran playing the game with tens of thousands of viewers. Even had Ninja playing at one point for like 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is like free
but
marketing.
yeah, but Hi-Rez being Hi-Rez just threw that all away, and
Yeah.
the game went back to the Hi-Rez games, back to the tier 2, tier 3 games.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah. No, they had a huge opportunity. There's rumors of a pro league starting up for that too, funded by Mixer, I believe it was.
Okay.
Because their current Paladin scene is actually funded by Mixer now. So is their Smite. It's like $40 million or something that they got.
And I heard that that was like the word that I got with the last 25K tournament at HRX last year, was that was organized and
Oh yeah,
funded by
everything's
Mixer.
Mixer. Yeah,
It's
everything.
all been Mixer.
All the 10Ks, 100Ks are pretty much all Mixer stuff too.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, okay, well, I mean, that's really good information, just because it's like a lot of people don't know how that works. I don't know if Skillshot was the one that organized the tournament, because there was obviously the drama last year with Kefri and being able to see the screen with no delay in real time during the 25K tournament. Like, there was some drama there. And obviously when you get somebody like Kefri, or you get, someone that has a little bit of reach on Twitter criticizing, that's going to create some drama. So it's just funny to hear that it's like, oh, like Mixer put this on, or maybe that was DreamHack that hosted it and did the setup. I don't know.
Skillshot is Hi-Rez. It's their esports build. Hi-Rez turned itself into a publisher about a year ago now.
Okay.
Hi-Rez used to just be a development studio, right? They made all these games, and then they decided that they wanted to be a publisher. So they created all these sub divisions, I guess, within their company, right? Sub development studios.
Yeah.
So you have Heroic Leap Games, you have Evil Mojo Games, but they're all still in the same building under Hi-Rez.
Yeah.
Hi-Rez just acts as their publisher now. Same thing with Skillshot. Skillshot is just a company that's owned by Hi-Rez that runs tournaments. They used to exclusively just be Hi-Rez esports, right? They would just run Hi-Rez games, but now they're branching out and they're trying to make money through. I don't know if you saw, Overwatch League actually just had a big tournament, or a big what do they do? They're doing this thing called where each team kind of hosts a week of matches, like at their hometown.
Yeah.
It's like the home stand, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So Skillshot actually ran the Overwatch League matches in Atlanta like 4 weeks ago. So,
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to see, right? Hi-Rez running Overwatch tournaments.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they're trying to expand what they're doing now, and not just Hi-Rez games.
Gotcha. Yeah,
that's that tournament, that 25K or whatever, that was run by Skillshot, by Hi-Rez, but it wasn't supposed to be just a tournament. It was supposed to be a marketing thing at DreamHack to allow people that have never played Realm Royale to compete for something, right? Those people, that Kefri and stuff, that's why they didn't announce it beforehand. They didn't want Kefri and me and other people that knew how to play the game.
Yeah.
They didn't want those people going over there and dominating, right? That wasn't the point of that whole tournament. So Kefri's valid concern, valid criticisms of that screen being there, but it wasn't supposed to be a valid tournament like that. There's a reason they didn't announce it. It was supposed to just be for them to showcase the game.
Yeah.
To market the game.
So they wanted to market that towards their console release, because that was the time when they were working on all of that. So that was like the thought process behind some of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of times people on the internet, obviously nerds, will rage, so I feel like there's this criticism that it's like, hey, like everyone is like so worked up over this and thinking people are morons, and it's like, obviously sometimes there's things behind the scenes that people just don't understand or don't know, and it's not like they're going to broadcast that all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, Just to get back on topic, what has been like some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you were a pro gamer, playing Paladins? Like, what was that experience like? Did you enjoy that? Did you obviously they just did games in Atlanta, is that right?
Yeah. Oh well, depends. So right now, the Facebook League was not a LAN league. We didn't actually play like all our matches on LAN.
Yeah.
We played our season matches on online from
Oh,
home,
okay.
and then we would have like 3 or 4 LANs throughout the year where we'd fly to either Atlanta. We went to Spain once, Valencia, Spain for DreamHack. Um, uh, Top 2 teams in each region got to go. The HRX, obviously, they fly out the top teams for that. Uh, just a bunch of tournaments. But right now, the Mixer League is a LAN league where they play all their matches and actually live in Atlanta. So that's more recent. That's this year, like 6 months ago that just started.
Yeah. So like, how's the league doing? Like, obviously they've got some big, you know, teams in there. Like SK, like Pittsburgh Knight is like a probably not like a T1 org, but like they've got is Sanguine Esports involved in that too?
I think they have a team in the minor league, Paladins minor league. But
Okay.
Sanguine Esports is like a tier 3 org, tier 4 org,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
tiny. Uh, how's it doing? I mean, like I said earlier, high res
Y-
esports are pretty tiny.
Yeah.
The only way they get these orgs involved is if there's money involved for the orgs. Uh, so Mixer obviously is paying for everything. Um, so Mixer gives money to the orgs essentially, and then the orgs pay players with a fraction or a percentage of that money that they get from Mixer. So a
Okay.
lot of these orgs are only involved because of that money. I don't think they would be involved if Mixer wasn't paying them.
Yeah.
To be completely honest,
Yeah.
as much as it pains me to say it, like Paladins is a tiny game. Smite's a pretty tiny game too, compared to these behemoths, right? Tier 1 esports.
Yeah.
These orgs wouldn't touch it just because the viewership's not there. At the end of the day, it's numbers that matter, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
when you only have a game that the tournaments are pulling only like 2,000 viewers, and Hi-Rez is genius with the way they do things too. So they give away a bunch of stuff just for viewing streams. Um, so they get these like fake viewerships. They boost their numbers essentially with AFK viewers
Yeah.
because people AFK for the prizes, which is genius. But their real viewership is probably like 1,000, 2,000 for each tournament. Like it's not that big.
Yeah. So okay, that's really interesting to hear that. Like we don't want to use the word view botting, but I hear what you're saying is people that tune in to win something.
Oh yeah, I mean every game's doing it now. Rocket League's been doing it. I know Overwatch has been doing it too. You link your Twitch account and just watch the game, right?
Yeah.
Hi-Rez is doing with Mixer more. They have Mixer points actually in the game.
Okay.
If you watch Mixer streamers that are playing Paladins, you earn points. Um, it's just yeah, it's a way to boost numbers.
Yeah. Which is like, oh, that feels bad. Like,
I
but
mean, if I had to guess, Mixer was probably paying them for viewership too.
yes,
So
yeah.
like, if Hi-Rez pulls off, 10,000 viewed hours in a month, they get paid whatever the money is for that amount. If I had to
Gotcha.
guess.
Yeah. This is interesting because this is like we haven't had much discussion about this on this podcast yet, but it's like very interesting to hear the background behind the business side of being a publisher or the business side of being a game development company.
Mhm.
That it's like how they actually make money, like especially when they do free to play games. There's this element of like obviously there's a whole market there, and like I worked in the publishing industry for a little bit as I worked sales for a book publisher, and so you kind of learn about all these like small little sales kind of techniques where like and relationships that form to try and help market and make money. And there was really like good money in it, but it often was very niche. And so it's kind of interesting to hear that games and now Twitch and Mixer and all these companies are involved in this whole market, where they're making this money by getting viewership. And essentially, is it just marketing? Is that like how they view this?
Yeah, I mean, I work for a game publisher right now, actually. Uh, I work for a Korean game publisher. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like marketing. I mean, esports
Yeah.
is just marketing. Most studios that are running esports like scenes, competitive scenes, it's not because of the love of competition. It's esports creates marketing.
Yeah.
It's a way of marketing, right? You throw $10,000 at someone at a tournament, that that forces the hardcore players to come play your game, compete for that, and you'll make more than 10,000 from that. Because that's a lot of content, right? That could you could spread that 10,000 over a season of a competitive scene. So it's not a big chunk of change for how much they'll make off of it at the end.
Yeah. And I mean, that's probably why Coca-Cola and all these people, Bud Light and all these people are involved in Overwatch and esports and all that, is they're looking at, and then obviously you have Fortnite, which is just like, the massive after the Fortnite World Cup this weekend and people making millions of dollars from playing that, and now, what's his name? Was it Bagheera? Not Bagheera. That's the World of Warcraft streamer. What's the name of the guy who won the
Booga?
solos? Booga.
Booga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? He's going to be on Fallon tonight or something crazy like that,
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of money that they're making just off of presence from that. And then obviously Fortnite had a relationship, I think, with Disney and Marvel being featured in, some of their latest movies, just even like small scenes, where they're playing Fortnite or something. Like it's just crazy that there's probably tons of handshakes going on back and forth
Oh yeah,
behind the
I mean,
scenes.
Team Liquid actually just partnered up with Marvel, and their jerseys they have like Captain America jerseys, Iron Man
Oh,
jerseys. Yeah, yeah. So
I did
their
not know.
players have been wearing.
I
Yeah,
didn't know.
the
I didn't know
CS:GO
that.
team just won. The CS:GO team just won one of the tournaments, and they were wearing the Captain America version of the jersey.
Okay.
So
See, that's like crazy. Like that just blows my mind, But I think that's interesting because it helps legitimize gaming in general, in terms of like it's a real market. Like it's not just something where it's this niche, thing like it used to be way back in the day, but it's an actual market. It's actual advertising. It's really good. Like I mean, it's showing the growth of the industry, which is good for everybody, but it's also realizing that it's going to be a very competitive industry, which means game developers, game publishers are going to have to do something, very special to gain the traction that they're going to want in order to make this money, So,
yeah.
but well, based on that's interesting. So, what happened with your whole Paladins career? Like, what ended up happening there?
So like I guess the 20K salary or whatever it was like. I think we were going to be getting like 28K for our team, but the salary and stuff came in while I was in college, my second or third year college, which made it super hard, just because I didn't have time to play. Pretty much, a lot of these teams, it was a huge time commitment of like 8 hours a day. Um, some people played 10 hours a day. Scrims were pretty much every single day, 6 or 7 days a week, 4 or 5 hours minimum of scrims. Some teams maybe did three, and it was rough. So I ended up taking yeah, about midway through Paladins. I was said I just wanted to be a sub. I wanted to um, manage. I wanted to coach. I was like, I'm just gonna do that. Eventually, over time, my love of Paladins died pretty much completely. I was just playing it for the money at that point, which is never worth it.
Yeah.
You just get pissed off, I guess, at random stuff when you don't enjoy the game. So eventually, I just said screw it. I made more money in Realm Royale than I ever did in Paladins in one tournament. Like
Oh,
Paladins,
really?
just, yeah, no, Paladins just not worth it, even for the money. Honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like the people that are playing in the minor league for Paladins, I think they're completely wasting their time unless they love the game.
Yeah.
I think I think they're idiots, honestly, for playing it. If they're just compete and be pro players and make money, I think they're wasting their time. I
Yeah.
think Paladins is probably the worst title to be trying to do that in right.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Like, I mean, I think that's interesting conversation because we've had a lot of talks about people trying to become pro. I think there's this kind of this like allure and shininess to making it in the gaming industry, whether that's, um, like trying to be a streamer, trying to be an entertainer, make it on Twitch, or whether or not you're trying to be a pro gamer, make it in a pro gaming scene, like what that looks like for individuals and what that looks like for people. Because I think there's kind of this element where you see people, I mean, you can make money, like, but I think it's also this kind of element where it's like you sort of have to get lucky a little bit, like what happened? Like how do you break through and make that impression other than you just know people, and you're good enough.
Yeah, I mean, the networking obviously probably the number one thing.
Yeah.
Knowing people is always the best. But getting into a game early, first month, I would say, is
Yeah.
probably the most important thing besides networking. Because there's no established scene, right? Everyone's on the same level. Everyone's learning the game. Everyone's forming teams, and you start beginning to establish yourself as just as a player in that game. People start knowing you. I think that's a big thing that happened with Fortnite is the people that came in early and started competing. Myth was like the first person that kind of took building to the next level in Fortnite.
Yeah.
TSM picked him up and he just blew up. Right, his Twitch
Yeah.
blew up, everything blew up. He's kind of fallen off like a lot actually the past year,
Yeah.
but he established himself super early on, and that's kind of kept him relevant still even today, even though he's not really competing that much or he's not
Mm-hmm.
qualifying for tournaments. But I think obviously I think it's getting in early, networking, and I hate like when people say like, yeah, just chase your dreams, try to be pro. I think it's the worst advice you can give someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Absolutely. Like a
I
hundred
hate it.
percent.
I absolutely hate it. I was at
Yeah.
a panel at PAX East this year, and like, yeah, it's like, we're setting up these university things to play competitively. So if you want to compete, do it. It's like, no, don't do it. I think competing is probably the worst thing you can actually do as a kid specifically. Esports does not last long. It's a year, 2, 3, maybe 4 years if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Especially for the bigger games, you can probably pull it out longer if you're in the bigger games like Dota, League. You could probably play longer in those games, even CS:GO.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last long, right? You have to be at the top level the whole time. You have to be practicing the whole time. As soon as you start struggling, you get dropped, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not a secure job. It's not a secure thing. And even getting to that point, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
So hard. So telling people to follow their dream and try to become pro, it's like terrible advice. Honestly, I think the biggest thing nowadays is establishing. If you do manage to become pro, is establishing the. This is something I regret I didn't do. Is streaming and YouTube.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that will keep you going after you're done competing
Yeah.
and while you're competing. Like that's so much bigger than competing.
Like Shroud.
Everyone's goal should not be to become pro. It should be to become a content creator.
Yeah.
That's where the real money's at long term.
So,
Competing, I think, is a terrible thing to follow. Honestly, if I'm
so,
being like, if I had to tell someone the
yeah.
truth,
So like pro gaming essentially is like you were a pro gamer, but it's only going to last you a year or two. So why you have that opportunity, you have to work your ass off to develop a following, right? So like that's what we talked about like when I watch a lot of the League of Legends stuff, because I followed the LCS for a long time. That's what got me into esports, and to begin with was watching League of Legends, pro scene, like, and all this stuff is like these guys, these kids, would develop these contracts, and now they're offering millions of dollars to Korean players and top tier talent, whatever. But they basically play, they wake up, they go to the gym, they play, they scrim all day, and then if they have the energy left, they stream in the evening to develop that recognition, right? And if you can make it, and if you get enough publicity and you play well enough, during your season, like you said, you get lucky, then you can continue to play, and then your following gets bigger. So they have hundreds of thousands of people following them on Twitter. What's interesting though is some of these guys that didn't do so well at becoming content creators, maybe they had a decent career and they're in the top echelon 1% of pro gamers, that were able to play for more than a year or two.
yeah,
They have huge Twitter followings, but when they stream on Twitch, they're still only bringing in like 100, maybe 100 or 200 viewers,
yep. Yeah, so
like,
they rely entirely on salary and prize winnings, which that doesn't last that long, honestly.
yeah, yeah, right. Otherwise, you need another career path as a backup. You know what I mean? Like, so I just find that interesting. I mean, I'm 31. I'm a graphic and web designer, so like that's what I do for a living, and I love it. And I have no plans to transition away from that. And it's like, then so you have other people like myself who just develop content or stream or play games for fun, you know. um Whereas then you have people like Shroud, I'm a Cutie, some of these other guys, you know, that are essentially full-time, you know, content creators now because they developed a following, you know, post professional career, you know. So I don't know, that's pretty cool to hear about though, like to hear
Yeah, I
that
mean,
advice.
so the route I took instead was I wanted to work in the industry, either in game development or publishing or esports, right? So instead of following the content creator thing, because I think I'm pretty boring, I was like, I'm not going to do content. I'm going to try to just network my way into the industry.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening, back when I played Gigantic, I got flown out to PAX East, PAX West, or a couple of each one, like 2 or 3 PAX Easts and 2 or 3 PAX Wests. I got flown out to their studio in Seattle. With Hi-Res too, kind of same thing. Just became friends with developers, became friends with just people working at Hi-Res, right? Becoming friends with as many people as possible,
Yeah.
making as many connections as possible, and then moving into a job in the industry. So like right now, I'm working for a game publisher, so, and hopefully, keep growing my resume within the industry.
Yeah. Well, that's great, dude. I mean, that's awesome to hear though, because like if that's your passion, you know, like you love video games, there's more than one course. There's more than one path than just playing. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like,
I think that's the important thing though, is making sure you have an idea of what you want.
yeah.
And thinking realistically too is like, yeah, I'm playing Paladins competitively. There's no way this is gonna last more than 2 years.
Hmm.
And knowing that, right? Even though like 20K a year, that's like minimum wage, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can make
so
that
it's
work in a
like,
McDonald's, right?
yeah. So being realistic about how much you're making, how much money you can make, what your chances are of winning tournaments, um, kind of realizing what game you're playing and what your actual goals are. I think is really really important.
Yeah. And that's like concrete. Like, that's really good advice, guys. So if people are listening in the chat that are like, how do I be a pro gamer? Like, I think this is all super great discussion. Like, I love this. Like, I love this perspective, alternate. And to be honest, I was really excited to have you on the show because I feel like a lot of times that I hear you offer advice or feedback in Discord or about other things, it's not the typical knee jerk reaction like, oh, high res, whatever. Like, it's very like rational, you know, down to earth, like good thought. And so I appreciate that about you, and the discussion we're having tonight is just that it's not like this, like you said, like chase your dreams, like, you know, it's very
Yeah.
practical, which I think is great, you know, and very logical, very rational,
I
you
like
know,
to be
perspective.
I like to be straightforward. I don't like to sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
Like I think people tend to overthink a lot of stuff too, or over exaggerate things. I guess would be the better word. As soon as something happens, everyone just goes crazy. It's like think you have to realize why things happen. So
Yeah.
when Hi-Rez made the changes they did, there's reasoning behind it. Obviously, they failed, but there's reasoning behind everything. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think people tend to see it from that side.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I think that's helpful though, because that's one of the things that bothers me about the gaming industry in general right now, which just kind of leads us on to like what games people are playing. That kind of point that I wanted to get into was this idea of like the even the lifespan of a game. Like, we're talking about the lifespan of like a pro gamer, but even the lifespan of a game right now is very short lived. You know, with so much coming into the market, there are times where it's like these companies invest so much money into these games, you know, and they're kind of just, you know, taking a shot. Hopefully they find some success with it. But like I just recall Apex launched, right, and hit like a new all time high of like, what was it, like 6 million players or 10 million players in the first month or something.
Yeah,
Um,
it was crazy amount.
yeah, like they broke records. Like, it was the most popular, you know, title ever in the shortest amount of time, something like that. But anyway, like the whole point was by the end of season one, everyone was like dead game. You know what I mean? Like, it, like on Twitch and all this stuff, and it's like,
Well, I think I think they got caught off guard with the success and they're like, crap, we can't develop content fast enough, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
uh, guys, we need 2 months until we can release anything. And they ended up screwing that up too. I think they pushed out that first battle pass, which looked like someone drew on a character's face with crayons, and like, "Hey, battle, here you go," just because they were rushing, right? They were
yeah,
rushing to try to force content,
yeah.
um, which was a big mistake. But I think they're improving again now. I think there's an Apex X Games tournament coming up soon too.
Mm-hmm. It like I think that's funny. Did you play some like a lot of Apex when it came out?
Yeah, originally I just wasn't a fan of the gunplay, so I stopped after like a week.
Yeah,
Slick, who actually won the 100K with I Hold Shift, he actually qualified for the X Games on one of the teams, so
yeah.
he's going.
Wait, Slick is going. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Him and Moport,
space,
right?
yeah, Space Station Gaming. Yeah, Mopork too.
Okay.
So,
All right, cool. Which both are Realm Royale, like former Realm
yeah,
Royale players.
yeah.
So.
Mopork was my teammate for the 100K.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
we got fourth.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I'm excited to see some former Realm Royale players, and then obviously Hodsick, who we've had on the show before, is now playing for the Pittsburgh Knights and doing very well for them. So like I'm encouraged to see some of these people transition and continue to do well, but in other games even. But I just think it's funny that there's this sort of like this short lifespan, like short attention span, I would say, for people, where it's like you have a title that reaches massive success on first week of launch, and then like 3 or 4 months later people are like, oh, dead game, like where'd all the players go, like, and then they release season 2 and it's like, and then it takes off because they introduce something that everyone's really interested in. So now you see
Yep.
Doc playing again, you see all these people playing again, which is again free marketing, like essentially marketing for them whenever they get these big streamers to play. So I don't know. I think that kind of fluctuation and that ebb and flow in gaming is interesting, because it's like you never know. Like you never know what could happen with a game. Same with World of Warcraft. I mean, freaking World of Warcraft was tanking, and then they released Classic, and there's so much hype surrounding that game title right now.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean I'm gonna be playing it too.
yeah,
It's the only time I played. I played Vanilla WoW and I played Burning Crusade, and that was in middle
okay,
school, and then I stopped playing completely. Yeah.
yeah. See, I didn't come in until the end of Burning Crusade, and then I played Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. I skipped Mists of Pandaria, and then I jumped back in with crap. What was the one after that? Cataclysm,
Yeah, I believe so.
and yeah, and then after Cataclysm, I think I may have skipped another one and came back in for Warlords, and then after Warlords, I just was done.
Yeah, I
So
played BFA for like a month, but
yeah,
not wasn't feeling it.
yeah. Like, and I love that game. Like, that game was a great game. I wasn't gonna grind it for 12 years or whatever, but it was a fantastic game. Like, like I loved World of Warcraft. But it's interesting to see these like continue resurgence of titles based on content that's being released. And a small part of me hopes that High Res hits that. Like a small part of me hopes that it eventually gets there with Realm Royale in particular for me, because that's the game that I'm playing right now and seems to have my attention. Um, so, I mean, what games are you currently playing? You're obviously playing Realm Royale right now. Are there anything else that you're playing?
Uh, yeah, Realm. I've been working mostly, so a lot less games. But I think the issue for me is I'm kind of waiting on the next shooter game to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Diabolical is probably the game I'm looking forward to the most. It's basically a quick game, but more cartoony, a lot more,
Okay.
I guess, casual. But it looks great. I can't wait to play it. Playing right now, it's probably Realm mostly, and then Underlords. I've been playing a lot of Underlords just because I can play it at work.
Yeah.
Um, Play a little bit of Fortnite every once in a while,
Okay.
but yeah, besides that, nothing really.
So Diabolical is like a Quake. It's kind of like a Quake style arena shooter.
Yeah, it's because Quake Champions was a huge letdown. It
Yeah.
wasn't really a Quake game, honestly. Uh, they tried to make Quake players happy and Overwatch players happy, and made none happy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
so Diabolical's taking it back to the roots of traditional arena shooters. So, but they're putting like different little spins on it. So, like they added a one of the issues is movement in those games. Like
Mm-hmm.
learning the movement mechanics is super hard. So Diabolical added a like a little jump that you can do, a dash that starts you up like at high speed, so you don't have to learn how to get to the faster speeds.
Yeah.
So But it looks good. That's the only game I'm really looking forward to. Everything else looks like it's going to be a battle royale, so I'll probably dabble in them, but I doubt I'll be pushing really hard in any of those games.
Yeah. Well, I think the gaming industry is in an interesting place right now, just because I think a lot of people are kind of waiting for that next game, and I think obviously Realm Royale has been like a staple for a lot of people, including myself. And there's starting to be a little bit of a lull with it right now. I think they did this whole grind thing where the latest patch OB20, reset like ranks, which held some people's attention for a little bit. Um, but now they're sort of like, what's the point of grinding these pub lobbies against bots? Like, it's just getting a little stale.
Yeah.
You know, uh, so I'm curious to see how customs will rejuvenate that. Myself, I come from a traditional sports background where I played a lot of soccer, a lot of basketball. I love sports and I love to compete, and that's why I love gaming. Is I love the competition, and there needs to be that element in a game for me. Whether that's rating, whether that's a MOBA, whether that's what rank I am. You know what I mean? Like there has to be something to play for, and that's a theme that's in common between traditional sports as well as esports.
Yeah, I think that's where ranked modes kind of come in for games. I was amazed that it took this long for ranked to get added to the battle royale genre.
Yeah,
Fortnite didn't add it till like what, a year and a half after launching. Apex just added it recently. And I was saying like the first battle royale that pushes ranked mode and a good ranked mode is gonna like get a huge surge of players because ranked gives players a reason to play, gives them something to work towards,
yeah,
something to compare themselves with, right? And that's a huge part of games, I think.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. It's a massive part. Is this idea of competing, and playing against somebody and knowing how good you are. No one's sitting here playing video games. Like I think escapism is a part of it, and maybe there's a certain person that within their life they need to have like a very chill, like mind, like let your mind just drift, But I think other people prefer, the latter, which is like competing. Esports in general, it's always about competition. It's about comparing yourself to other people. So having a ranked mode, having something to play for, having something to show your friends, like I'm achieving this. Like it's not like I'm just playing this game just to play. Like I'm doing something. Otherwise I just go watch television. Like
Yeah.
what's the difference there? Like I'm doing something. Even if it is just digital, I'm still doing something, and that's a key element for people like myself and with other people. You know, um, so I don't know. I hope Realm Morale hears that and continues to release content that's focused on for people to compete. You know, um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they haven't done a ranked mode, but honestly, I think Realm is at the point where they're just kind of running it to run it.
yeah.
Its lifespan. The rumor is they're working on a new shooter game, which is where they moved their most of their dev teams to.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you noticed, Krat and some of the other main Realm Royale like devs all moved away from Realm to work on that new project.
Okay. I mean,
So they have a new, yeah, they
I
have a new dev team now.
I knew that they had a new dev team that came in like January. I've been very happy with the dev team that we have now.
Oh yeah, they're so much better in my
No,
opinion.
yeah, like they've been
Yeah,
making excellent progress. I feel like
yeah.
so. But that's interesting. So there's a title that's come. I mean, I knew that there's been a title. Actually, I heard there was a title that they were working on before Realm Royale released, and Realm Royale saw so much success that they shifted people off of that project to Realm, and now they're shifting it back. I guess is that kind of what's going on? I'm assuming.
I think that's what the rumor is. Oh yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean they had a couple. I mean they had mobile. They're doing like a huge mobile division at some point too. They showed off what was it? It was like the Clash Royale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had a Clash Royale game with 3 lanes instead of two or something.
Okay.
They showed it off at HRX one year and then they canceled it. I think like a month later. Uh,
Oh boy.
yeah, so they
Yeah.
had another game that they showed off at HRX called Bot Smashers, which was also a mobile game. Canceled it too.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe this game that they work on will get canceled too. But the rumor right now, I think, is just that they're working on a new game for PC.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, mobile games is a really interesting market in of itself. I think it's a unique market. Like I played a little bit of Clash of Clans and some Clash Royale, and I don't know. I mean, mobile gaming is a whole nother thing for me. With where I'm at, I can't get into it personally, but
Oh, me neither.
yeah, like I understand it, I just can't. It's not for me. So I'm sure it makes tons of money though.
Oh yeah, I think mobile games are the easiest game to make and make the most money. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
because mobile's the number one platform in all of Asia. So just make a bunch of weeb games and ship to Asia, and you're making money.
Yeah. Well, that's because they have such good internet over there. They have like in Korea and other places they have insane internet speeds. It's like you're getting massive like, and then so you're sitting on the subway playing games, or whatever, and you're getting like massive speeds, whatever. Like I don't know, it's just a whole nother world. But um so what's your relationship with high res? You said you had some relationships just with some developers. Is that kind of the extent of it? It like
I think I mean, so Hyra's Pretty Hair, one of their casters.
yeah.
Pretty good friends with him. We would hang out. We played games all the time, just random games. I actually lived with one of their esports guys, High Res Rude, who's no
Okay.
longer with them, but I lived with him for like 6 months. Um, what's his name? Uh, Brain Day, who's also just I think left about a month ago to do his
He
own
was a
thing, but he
caster,
was
right?
also yeah. So
Okay.
I was friends with a lot of the High Res employees.
And you used to live in Atlanta, and that was kind of the connection that you made there. Is that correct?
Well, this was before that, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
eventually I moved to Atlanta and I guess got a little closer with some of them. But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, so it's like you sort of have like a knowledge of what's going on a little bit just through people which is great. Like I think that's good to hear. Like that's good to hear from people in the community outside looking in that it's like, I mean, I think at least personally, I think it's helpful to hear like, oh, like this is why changes are happening. Like this is why we're getting new developers. This is why things are happening. I like to hear that. I like to hear the strategy behind it. Like
yeah. I mean, you also get to know the kind of people they are too. So like,
yeah,
I know Kret is super hard headed, just from talking to Kret over the years. Kret used to just be a community. Like most of Hi-Rez, honestly, just players from Hi-Rez games that they end up hiring on.
yeah,
Hi-Rez is usually seen like in the industry as kind of a stepping stone. People start their careers off at Hi-Rez and kind of move on.
yeah.
Um, so Krat used to actually just be a tribes player, and then he was I think a Smite coach, and then he got hired on,
Okay.
and then now he's a game designer. And one of the same thing, Driver. Driver was just a caster, a content creator. Then he was like got moved to from caster to like video game or game design lead, I think, and he became like the lead of all the games at some point too before he
Wow.
left Hi-Rez.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made huge steps at Hi-Rez.
That's interesting.
So
I know they brought in a couple ex Blizzard developers as well. Like Meep used to be a Blizzard and now he's head of sound design for
mhm.
Realm, cuz Blizzard had let go all of the like they had that mass exodus where they had to
Oh
let
yeah,
go of
yeah.
all those people.
And
I
they're rehiring after that too.
yeah, which is
Same
insane. Like
positions, yeah.
yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's kind of like, oh, Heroes of the Storm is tanking. World of Warcraft is tanking. Overwatch is it's I feel like it's kind of having a resurgence now, but for a while it was struggling. And now all of a sudden it's like we let go of all these people, like, and now all these like on Twitter you just see mass like resumes, everywhere, like looking experience here, looking, whatever. And so I was kind of like anticipating that Hi-Rez would pick up some people, but it seems like a lot of the people that they picked up, had some experience and are doing good things. So I'm encouraged to see that, but. So, well, let's talk about Realm Royale a little bit. I wanted to hear about your background and all this, and this is a super interesting conversation, and something we haven't discussed a lot of on this podcast, which is great. I love this. But with the current state of Realm Royale, like you've been playing since 10Ks, 100Ks. Did you play in
I was
all
playing.
those?
Oh yeah, I've been playing since day one. Like
Oh,
back when
okay.
they had the super closed up. Back when it was just Paladins characters, Paladins Battlegrounds. We
Yeah.
actually got so back when Paladins Battlegrounds became a thing, the the thing that everyone called it was PUBG, and we got told as Paladins contracted players that we weren't allowed to say that word PUBG.
Oh, really?
So,
Because it was
so I
too
think
close to
that's one of the
PUBG.
reasons. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons they ended up switching it
Oh,
to
okay.
Realm Royale. Realm
Yeah.
Royale is actually one of the names I threw on Twitter. I'm like, dude, why are you guys calling it Paladins Battlegrounds? Like, call it Realm Royale.
Yeah.
And they ended up going with the names change. I don't know if it was because of me or if it was just random, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's funny though. So like you stuck around, you've been playing forever, like what's keeping you? Like what do
Uh,
you love about this game?
the gunplay is just unmatched. The movement is unmatched. I love projectile shooters, projectile games. Lawbreakers, I only played the rocket character.
Yeah.
Overwatch, I only played Pharah. Paladins, I only played Jorgos, right? I only played projectile characters most of the time. Cassie Jorgos. This game started off with insane movement mechanics, super high speed, right?
Mhm.
You would concussion bomb yourself into a blink 360 and like snipe someone. It was the coolest experience ever. It felt like awesome. Warrior leaps and charges, and charge only had like 2 second cooldowns back in the day too. So you could warrior leap, charge, warrior leap, charge, warrior leap, charge, just
Yeah.
over and over and pretty much fly. And that kind of stuff just like is so fun to me.
Yeah.
There was no hit scan in the game. Well, there was some, but very limited. There's no like fully automatic hit scan.
Yeah.
No SMGs, no assault rifles, which I still don't believe they fit in the game at all. They should be removed.
Yeah.
Same thing with the gatekeeper. But that's the stuff that made me like fall in love with the game.
Yeah.
And I still haven't found a game. So the reason I'm still playing is because I haven't found a game that does that
Yeah.
yet. So
I feel like
every game is just this full auto hit scan garbage, and I hate spam.
yeah. I feel like that's a lot of players right now. I mean, I relate to that completely because it's like I downloaded Apex the other day and was like, I'm gonna try it out again, and I played it and I have fun. Like I mean, it's enjoyable, but then I come back to Realm and I'm just like, man, there's like something about this. There's something about the third person projectile, like you said, projectile based. Like I love the gunplay and the fact that it's like peak shooting. Like I feel like Apex is sort of like I don't know. I don't know. Like I just don't love it. Like I love the movement in that game. I
Oh,
don't.
movement's amazing.
Yeah.
Like they did movement better than Realm Royale in my opinion in Apex. The
Yeah.
gunplay just blows. I hate it. Oh, the loot system is so bad,
Yes.
so bad in Apex. Probably the worst out of every battle royale I've ever played.
Yeah.
Finding the good stuff is so hard. That's something that Realm Royale has actually improved on. There's two things I think Realm Royale does better now than it did before. That's loot. I think having
Mm-hmm.
the chests be per person is an amazing change. Um, and then I also think that the talent system is actually amazing because it reduces the amount of RNG in the game by a
Yeah.
lot. So
Mm-hmm.
you can always get that sniper. You don't feel like, damn, I got a fucking shredder, like I got a frost heirloom, right? It's like
Yeah.
you actually
Absolutely.
feel like, yeah, you don't feel like you're entirely against RNG the whole time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think those
100%.
are the two good changes that they made to the game.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I keep coming back to Realm, and like I have certain stipulations about changes they're making. I'm not sure why some of them are happening, but I love this game. Like that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing the podcast. That's why I've continued to play it. Is even though we're dealing with bot lobbies and we have a small population, I think the community in general and the game in general is still the only thing that I'm willing to really invest in right now on the market, in the gaming industry. Um,
Yeah,
like I don't know, that's just me. That's why I'm here.
yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some like you've been involved in the competitive scene. I've had a chance to see you in a handful of scrims, the recent RomCom tournaments, as well as you took. This was interesting. You took first technically in the
Yeah,
1.5K RomCom tournament, but because there wasn't enough players in one of your games, then you ended up taking second next to
yeah.
ADAP, right?
Bot lobbies. I mean, I don't like it sucks. I don't get angry. Some people get really angry when
Yeah.
they get bot lobbies, but it's not something you can control. It's just part of the game right now.
Yeah.
The way tournaments are run, right? If you don't, you could get unlucky and just get into a game with only 6 players or 4 teams, but you need 5. This actually happened. It happened to our team like 2 months ago in a squad tournament. We had 2 games in out of 6 where we just didn't get into a lobby with enough teams, so
Yeah.
it's 0 points, right? Kubski's team in one of the or even maybe it was two of the tournaments. They also just got two bot lobbies in the same tournament. It's like it's brutal, but it's just part of the part of the game at this point.
Yeah. So like, what do you think of the current state of Rome?
I mean, like I said, I think most of the competitive players seem to have kind of taken a break at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Which happened in
Giant,
like the last week, I think.
yeah, it's like the past week or two,
Yeah.
people have kind of just started drifting away. Some might come back for custom, some might not. I think the big thing is just high res hasn't really shown much of like what the future is, I guess, of Realm. To
Yeah.
me, it seems like they're just kind of stalling, right? Just kind of the game's on its last legs. I think just supporting it with as much skins and stuff as possible, but
Yeah.
um, I don't think they have any big plans anymore. Especially because they were making a huge comeback. They actually broke 10K CCU back in February. Then
Yeah.
Apex came out as Realm was making its comeback. They're like, oh, Apex. It's like, fuck, gotta start again.
Yeah. No, absolutely,
So
dude. Okay, we talked about this that it went from like 4K to 10K because they announced a tournament. They announced a
mm-hmm.
funded tournament
That's a
that
part of it, yeah.
yeah.
But the game also just had a huge patch. That's where talents got added.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of good changes. There was a big patch and the tournament, so it was like a mixture of both. The game was in a good place, and then the tournament. So that brought a lot of people back. And then Apex came out, and everyone's like, "That's where I'm gonna go pro." So everyone moved to Apex.
Yeah. Which again talks to the kind of the nature of Twitch and the nature of gamers in general, how kind of, flaky they can be at times when it comes to that sort of thing. So,
I think the flakiness comes from the opportunities that a new game allows. Like I said,
yeah.
if you get in the game early, you have more opportunities. As a streamer, as a content creator,
Yeah.
as a pro player, you just have more opportunities. Because if you're the first person making content, first person that's playing that game at a high level, you have
Mhm.
so many more chances of actually doing something.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I mean, obviously, no one knows what will happen completely. If this new game tanks for high res or if it takes off, which maybe it'll be super fun. I hope it will be great. I'll check it out for sure. Um, but what do you think about the future of Realm Royale and where it's going?
I mean, I'll still be around always, pretty much for it, as long as it's there, as long as there's some scene. I mean, pubbing in the game is very boring to me,
Yeah.
just because it's very few players in the actual games. But tournaments are always really fun, probably the most fun I ever have. Uh, like the past year, I think Realm is still the only game I've actually like enjoyed. Um, Fortnite's okay.
Yeah.
I just get pissed off at the building, man. I just want to shoot things, right?
Yeah. Right.
I don't want to
Yes.
build. Apex pisses me off because I hate the gunplay. Just the Realm's the only game I'm really enjoying. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still be around. When the new game comes out, I'll definitely be playing it just because Hi-Rez always throws money at their games, so you're guaranteed to have tournaments. So anyone that is looking to actually play a game at a high level should 100% jump into the Hi-Rez's new game like day one.
Yeah.
That's your best chance, and it's guaranteed to have a scene. Um, Maybe the size of Paladins, maybe bigger. You never know, but
Yeah.
most likely the size of Paladins and Smite, which is like a tier two, tier three sport. But
Yeah.
it's still something if you're looking for any.
Like what I'm waiting for is like the noon ball community league of esports. I'm old. I'm 31, going to be 32 next year. I still love video games. I'll always love video games. I still love playing. I still love improving. I still love competing. Like I'm waiting for esports to hit this element where it's like, and this is why I'm excited for customs and for the future of Realm, is because I just want a game that's fun to play, is still challenging, and there's still an element of competition where it's like an amateur scene for esports. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't
So I think Fortnite's the only big game that actually does that right now.
yeah.
Every other game has an established scene. Very hard to break into. Like CS:GO, no way. Like there's no way you're breaking into CS:GO. Some of those guys have been playing for like 15 years.
Yeah.
The only way to get into CS:GO's like pro scene is to go through like 7 different tiers of leagues, and
Yeah.
then you have to get noticed. That'll take you years. Dota, same thing. League of Legends, same thing. There's just so many things you have to get through.
Yeah.
Fortnite, on the other hand, all their tournaments are open. All their qualifiers are open. If there's any game that people want to play and compete at any level, Fortnite's the only one that's big. that you have a chance of competing. Like if you're no one, like that, what is it, 14-year-old Brazilian or Argentinian kid that got
Yeah,
fourth place, I think.
yeah,
That's like just
$900,000.
yeah, he's just like he showed up to the qualifier, he qualified and then he won 900K. It's like anyone could actually do that. Like if I wanted to go play Fortnite right now and practice the building stuff, I have an opportunity to qualify for the tournament too.
Yeah,
That's the only game that does that right now. Every other game is just either you're competitive or you're not. Like that's it.
yeah. Okay, so I want to pick your brain just a little bit. We're just to wrap up some of our discussion, which has been great. But I want to hear some about this recent tournament that you played in with the solos, because obviously we're on OB20. It seems like OB20 has been the patch where everyone's been playing solo realm, right? Like for Gentle Giants League, Realm Com had a solo tournament the summer kickoff earlier this month. And then the European League also did solos. So it seems like everyone's playing solos right now, which I think maybe just because it's very accessible and you don't have to organize anything, you just show up. Um, I think debatably the meta is terrible in solos right now, but I want to hear this. I thought this was an interesting format for the tournament. You essentially won, but didn't win because you got one poor lobby. Like, what was your thought process going into this tournament, and how did you want to play this
Uh,
out?
so solos, I think, is by far the worst format for tournaments.
Absolutely.
Uh, I think it's part of the reason why a lot of people took breaks and quit,
Yeah.
just because there's nothing but solos recently. Uh, and in terms of the meta being bad for solos, it's always bad. Like Pepega Mage meta bad, Assassin Frost or Frost Heirloom Assassin bad, Warrior meta bad. Like it's just no,
Yeah.
because there's always gonna be one best class, right, for solos. Maybe
Absolutely.
a second one that's okay, but there's always gonna be a best class.
Yeah.
So that's what it turns into. That's why solos just sucks. But I think rule sets determine how you play a tournament and how you, I guess, how I enter a tournament. If the rule set allows for a lot of points to be earned through placement, play more safe. If the rule set rewards killing people more, then you obviously go for eliminations more. That's the issue I see with most battle royale games is that they're still figuring out how to do rule sets.
Yeah.
I don't think any game has done it correctly yet. I think Fortnite kind of showed that this week too. The guy that got second place only had like 6 kills total over the 6 games, and he got second place. He
Good
won over
grief.
$1 million, killing only 6 people.
Yeah.
Like it's
What?
nuts. Meanwhile, there's a guy that got like 20 kills and he got 10th, I think. Uh, so I think it's a figuring out the rule for the solo tournament that I played in. Most of the realm tournaments have the same rule sets now, where
Yeah.
it's you want to get a good placement every single match. So I think getting early kills is only good up to a point. So in solos, I try to only get 3 kills at the start, maybe 2, just because it lets you craft, right? Getting those shards for killing
Hmm.
someone lets you craft early. Then after that, you just hide like till top 20 because you want to get those placement points.
Yeah.
And if you get to the end, you're guaranteed to get kills as well.
Yeah.
Um, or if you're not, if you die at the end, at least you got placement points, right? So it's a win-win no matter what. Whereas if you go for the kills early and you die early, you lose.
Yeah.
Um, so my plan usually is to get 1 or 2 kills early and just camp till the end.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I played in Gentle Giants League a little bit, which I enjoyed a lot. It was challenging for me as a player, but I also feel like it didn't make me a better player. Like, like mechanically, it did not make me a better player because it was like what you talked about. I would get a couple bot kills early to mid game.
So Giants format is like the complete opposite side of that spectrum of the rule sets.
Yeah.
Kills are the only thing that matters in Giants thing.
Well, now it's
Like,
because they played so many games, right?
well, yeah, you have like 120 total games that you can play. Only 10 of them count, and the
Yeah.
10 that count, they're all going to be first place games, right? Pretty much
Yes.
first
Yeah.
or second place. The only thing that matters at the end for who wins the league is who got the most kills in those games.
Yeah.
Um, I think tournaments and battle royale games in general need to figure out a way to combine both placement and points to matter. I think it's one of the reasons why Gentles League is also like towards the end of the month, no one shows up anymore. It's
Yeah.
because it's just not worth it. Um, like people just get so far ahead in the kills.
Yeah. Do you do
Um,
you think that would happen if it was a different format, like if it was a squad league or a duo league? Do you think we would be seeing that same kind of, oh, he's 50 points up, you know?
yeah, I think so. I think towards the end you just start realizing you have no chance of winning.
Yeah. Is it kind of like the NBA or the Major League Baseball league where it's like only playoffs matter because they're playing, 150 games a season? Like, do you think there's value in saying, hey, we're going to do a league, but there's going to be playoffs and you have to qualify for
Oh yeah,
playoffs?
no, that's definitely the better way of doing it. That way, the teams that had no chance of actually winning fall off. Right, they're not part of the teams that do have a chance of competing for something. They go into playoffs. Everything resets in playoffs. Only the top four teams or whatever are in there. Top
Yeah.
whatever teams, top six teams, top eight, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, then they have a reason to play again. So the fire kind of gets reignited. So yeah, playoffs and stuff like that would probably be better. Um, I think the big thing that more battle royale games need to do that none of them really do yet is battle royales are so luck based, so RNG based, all of
Yeah.
them in some way compared to other competitive games. You need to make a best of whatever series, right? So you play 8 games, only your best six count, or best seven count, or best eight count, or yeah, whatever, depending on the number of games you have. Because a lot of times, especially in Realm, if you have one bad game, 1-0 game, one bot lobby,
Yeah.
you're out. Like your chance of coming back is so hard, like so small. If you get two of those games, you're done. Same thing happens in all these games.
Yeah.
Um, I think having one throwaway game is massive, and it changes the way people play. You'll see a lot more aggressive plays because people know they have one throwaway game. I think it'll just make things a lot more exciting. It'll feel more fair to players too. Like, hey, I just dropped off. I died off drop. You're not like I'm out of the tournament now. You
Yeah.
have okay, that was my throwaway game.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think stuff like that should be used in battle royales, and I don't think anyone's really done it before.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I love that thought process because, like, uh, the only thing when people we had discussion, like I've talked a lot with a few other streamers. It's like, oh, like how do you determine who's actually good at this? Because it's a battle royale. Like maybe somebody killed somebody, but it wasn't a 1v1 fight. Like maybe you third partied at the end. And easy cleanup, one shot, they're dead, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's a battle royale. So how do you determine who's the best at a game? Well, within a battle royale scene, it's kind of like who wins consistently over time. So how do you implement that into a format so that that can be the competition? Like because you're clearly, you know, limited by time and all that stuff. So I like what you're saying about having throwaway games is important. Having certain games that count is important. Maybe having a playoff is a good implementation to a league structure because it allows for not just who grinded the most during the league, but there's an element there where it's like now you have the top tier echelon of players to compete. So I don't know how you do that is tricky, but I think that's really good and interesting. So
Yeah, and the other problem with Giants League too, at least I noticed it for me because I can't play in all the games, right?
yeah,
So I have maybe like 20 games played this season. I'm at
yeah,
the top of the like the board, but I've only played like 20 something games, 30 games now maybe. But the guys at the most of the guys at the top have like 60, 70 plus games already played.
yeah,
Um, so these guys get 70 chances to get these points. I've only gotten like 20 because
yeah,
I can't play in the morning, right? I can't
exactly.
show up to every. So
And that's nothing against the people hosting it. Like I think that's just you know, a valid like analysis of the current structure of the game where it's like if you're doing 120 games a season, it's not the same to say this person played 120 games and achieved this many points versus this person played, 20 games and achieved this many points. Like
the other issue with the league too is at the start of the league, right? Let's say you have 50 actual players in the league participating. Slowly, as the weeks go by, that goes down. Like yesterday, I was playing in the league matches. We had 9 players playing league,
yeah,
so it's like I don't know, completely different too.
yeah,
My wins, although I'm winning games, my wins technically are a lot easier to get
sure,
than the ones that were happening at the start. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the issue of the league just being too long. It should be like a week or two, probably 2 weeks, and then do playoffs for 2 weeks or a week.
Yeah,
That's what I would do personally. But
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I'm excited for the future of this game, and I'm excited that they've branched out beyond just tournaments. I think tournaments is great for esports. I think it's fun, but I think that leagues are, especially for battle royale, seem to be the most interesting thing for me personally. You know, like you can only set up a tournament that's like, unless you have an open qualifier type thing like Fortnite's doing, where it's this process, where you can try and qualify. I think it's more interesting to host a league where you have 2 nights a week where you play games. I think that involves the casual, like more casual, as well as the very competitive, to try and get the best score, to try and, do the best you can within that. It allows an opportunity for everybody to compete. And so that's why I'm excited for customs. I think there's going to be more opportunities for that, specifically within Realm Royale.
The
So,
only thing I'm scared of for customs is, will we have the players to fill them?
yeah,
Will enough people come back? That's the like issue I see.
yeah. And I think the big thing too is also people playing the game on a consistent basis, a consistent regular basis, is important for the growth of the game. And if you're only playing in customs, is that going to be enough to continue to grow the game, or is that even ever going to happen? And that's hard. That's hard for somebody like myself who loves the game to say, are we ever going to see a big jump
Yeah, I
within Realm
mean,
Royale again?
I'm hopeful, but realistically, I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that, man. I feel like a lot of people are there right now, which is sad, but also, maybe. You never know. You never
Yeah,
know.
I think it mostly lies with just how high res is.
Yeah.
I just don't see high res doing much for Realm anymore. So, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Like the only way I could see the game potentially doing big again is not patching for like a month or two, letting the game kind of die off, and then just doing a massive patch, massive marketing push again, massive like a tournament, 10K or something.
Yeah.
Just trying to bring everyone back at once. Because I think these small patches barely bring anyone back, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and I think we've seen a lot of art patches, which is like High Res's art team is fantastic. Like we've always applauded the skins and all that stuff, but it's not content. It's not a change. It's not something that creates a different experience. It's just something that you put on. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, so with Apex, right? Season 2 brought ranked mode, big
yep,
map changes, like
yep,
a bunch of stuff. With Realm, we got a new battle pass, like just the battle pass, right? It's
yeah,
like whatever.
yeah,
Fortnite, same thing. Every time they get a new season, it's a massive deal, right? They
yeah,
add so much to the game with each season. The whole map changes every season.
yeah,
Realm is not doing that right now, which
yeah,
is I think the big issue. Realm has patches every 2 or 3 weeks, and there's pretty small. Instead of combining them all and just having seasons every 2 months with big patches.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think that'd be awesome. But I agree with you that it's like the publisher and the developer need to invest, Like people aren't going to invest if you don't invest you know, as the person developing the game. So, yeah, that's good feedback. All right, man. Well, I mean, we've kind of covered a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight. Is there anything you wanted to chat about before we wrap it up?
You cut off there. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I was just saying, is there anything else you wanted to chat about tonight before we wrap it up?
Uh, Something that I talked to Deathmatch about before is people constantly in Realm are just like, oh, I can't find teammates or can't find good teammates. I think the important thing is in any game is put your ego away. No one wants to play with anyone that's an asshole. Find people you enjoy playing with.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy playing so much more, and you'll play better over time with people you actually enjoy playing. Like I told Heavenly, because everyone knows Heavenly's toxic as fuck. Like, but I told Heavenly, like Heavenly, if you ever ego me, if you ever do say anything to me that like that you're better than me, or just you try to put me down, I'm not gonna play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big issue. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Is they'll play with people just because they're very good.
Yeah.
It's like cool, you'll win a tournament or two, but what happens when you start losing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone just starts raging at each other, and that happens all the time. Like everything's fine when you're winning, but as soon as you start losing, oh my god, it's brutal. Like that happened in Paladins before too. It's like Cuss, I love Cuss to death, but I dropped him from Warpath because ego.
Yeah, dude. I hear
Yeah,
that. Yeah, no one wants to play with somebody that's like that. Like you like I don't know. I mean, that's how I've always been personally. Is it's like develop relationship with somebody before you like you have to have good synergy as a teammates, and if you like totally demolish that by having a horrible ego and like you're difficult to play with, difficult to work with, and no one's gonna want to play with you.
Sometimes it's just personalities too. Like
Yeah.
two people wanting to be the leader will never work, which is something else that happened in Paladins. Bitey and Vex, both amazing people, both amazing players, but both have like very strong personalities. I would say
Yeah.
very opinionated. I wouldn't say egos at all, just very opinionated. Very just they want to be leaders.
Yeah.
When you get two of those people on the same team, you get people competing to be the leader. So you just have to learn what people's personalities are and build your teams around that instead of just looking at who's good, because just who's good will never work
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why a lot of esports organizations are hiring sports psychologists. Like I've personally seen a lot of people bring in sports psychologists to work on team synergy and things like that. Like it's not just about who's the best. Putting the 5 best players on a team doesn't always mean they win. It just means you have the 5 best players. They have to work together in order to win at anything that involves teamwork.
Yeah,
So
I mean, being good is obviously a requirement too, but
yeah, yeah,
if they're at least if they're, decent, the teamwork will come over time.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just a matter of not being an asshole, I guess. I mean, that goes for everything though. Like if let's say deathmatch or me and you, right? Let's say I'm nice to you, we become friends. The next game we play, like let's say we run into each other in high res next game, right? You'll
hmm
have a positive view of me, right? Like you'll be like, oh, I want to play with this guy again.
yeah,
Whereas if you like egoed someone or you're an asshole in Realm Royale, then Apex came out. Let's say the competitive scene was rolling around. You formed a good team. I was like, hey, can I play on your team? But I was an asshole in Realm. You're obviously going to say no. Fuck you. You're an asshole.
yeah,
Like at the end of the day, being an asshole doesn't accomplish anything. You earn nothing. Whereas
yes,
being nice, just networking, having fun, like long term, you'll get so many more benefits. Like
yeah,
the reason I got my job that I have now in the game industry is because I made friends with people I played games with 9 years ago. Like
yeah.
she's just like, hey, you want a job here? I was like, hell yeah, and I moved across the country because of it. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's just networking is so important. Don't be an asshole. Be
Yeah,
nice to people. Have fun with the game. Don't take it too seriously. At the end of the day, everyone's just playing a game.
yeah.
Um, Saying you're the best Realm Royale player doesn't mean much. Fucking relax. Yeah,
Yeah, so true, dude.
yeah.
That's
Like
good, man.
it's a big thing going on right now in Realm. Actually, people are calling each other cheaters. I'm just like, dude, why? Like,
Yeah,
relax.
yeah,
If someone's cheating in Realm Royale for no money, like whatever, man, more power to them. Obviously, they're not banned, so that hasn't been proven or anything.
yeah.
Just
Chill
you can
out,
have your
right?
opinions, but relax. Don't go like throwing it around everywhere.
Yeah, that's good, dude. I love that, man. Cool, dude. Well, it's great to have you on the show, and I appreciate your perspective and all the stuff that you've shared with us tonight. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, well, this is the end of the show. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Thanks so much for hanging out, and Alternate, really appreciate you again just taking the time to come out. I know it was a bit early for you on the West Coast, but yeah, it was just great to get to know you a little bit better and hang out. So, but
Yeah, it was fun.
all right. Well, until next time, guys. Thanks for hanging out. This is Realm Roundtable.